Dear President of the European Parliament, dear members of the European Parliament, representatives of the European Commission, national governments, and international and European partner organizations. Dear colleagues and friends, on behalf of the European Disability Forum, we warmly welcome you all to the 5th European Parliament of Persons with Disabilities. First of all, I would like once again to express our deepest gratitude to the European Parliament and its President for supporting us to co-organize this very crucial event for the European disability movement. I would like also to wholeheartedly thank all EDF members and members of the European Parliament for making this European Parliament of Persons with Disabilities a reality and a historic edition, because this, the 5th European Parliament of Persons with Disabilities, has the highest number of participants, 734. Colleagues, here we are again. As I said, over 700 disability activists from all corners of Europe, a true representation of the diversity of the 100 million of persons with disabilities and of our European Union. Being together in this house, in our house, filling the hemicycle of the European Parliament, proving not only the strength of the European disability movement, but also our commitment and determination and our fight to build a more inclusive future for all persons with disabilities. Last time we met here in 2017, none of us knew how much the world would change in just 6 years. Europe has gone through and is still facing dramatic crises, one after the other. Each crisis impacts us more heavily and more disproportionately. The COVID-19 pandemic was a stark reminder of how far we are in enjoying the same rights and the same protection as any other citizen. Then the worst nightmare of our continent returned, another war in Europe. Russia invaded Ukraine, and as in every armed conflict, persons with disabilities face higher risks of abandonment, abuse, and neglect. Our hearts, our efforts are with you all, dear friends and colleagues, Ukrainians with disabilities, also welcome here today. The war also caused a spiral of rising prices, which have made it more difficult for millions of persons with disabilities to make ends meet and have a decent standard of living. Additionally, the effects of the climate change and the rapid digital transition are also imposing new challenges to the everyday lives of persons with disabilities. Colleagues, in all these fronts, we need a strong European Union that truly embraces diversity and puts equality and inclusion and at the very center of its policies. We need to turn the words of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability a reality. The European disability movement was very instrumental to include disability in 1997 in the Amsterdam Treaty. At the last European Parliament of Persons with Disabilities, we jointly called the EU to adopt a European disability strategy for the present decade. With the CRPD as its compass, we urged the adoption of the first comprehensive European accessibility legislation, the 2019 European Accessibility Act. And as President Metsola said, we also urge once again for our long-standing demand for a true European disability card for a mutual recognition of disability in all member states. Recently, EU institutions held the Conference on the Future of Europe, in which they asked EU citizens for their opinion. Today, dear colleagues, is our opportunity to shape the future we want. A future in Europe in which no one is deprived of the right to vote or to stand as a candidate in elections, where elections are accessible and there are more persons with disability as policy makers, where we are protected against discrimination in all areas of life, and we can participate on equal footing with others, where women with disabilities can strive and equally lead in our societies, where no one ever faces violence or inhumane practices like coercion, forced treatment, or forced sterilization, where accessibility is considered as a fundamental element of our societies, where persons with disabilities can live independently in the community, where we can move freely across the EU with accessible transport and equal passengers' rights, where we can access inclusive education, equality and quality employment, in the open labor market, where we can all enjoy good standard of living, where also our governments promote the rights of persons with disabilities in our countries and across the world, and where we are meaningfully involved in the decisions affecting our lives. Colleagues, I call you all to be ambitious activists, proposing measures to achieve this inclusive future. We must speak up. We must stand up, all for those who could not be with us today, persons living in segregated institutions, or persons with disabilities facing extreme socioeconomic difficulties. We are here for them as well. Women and men with disabilities, their families, persons with chronic diseases and rare diseases, persons with invisible disabilities, older people, younger people with disabilities. We are all here to celebrate diversity, to send a message from the House of Democracy of the European Union that persons with disabilities in the European Union never more tolerate discrimination. I am sure that we are going to work here all day, all together, to present a series of policy measures that would make the European Union a very inclusive continent to live. I would like to thank you all for your presence and active participation. Thank you and welcome.